Hello, welcome, and sorry. Actually, Rajat's the one who should be saying sorry today, not us. Rajat's 2 weeks in a row he's missing out, skipping the boys. Where is he? Nova Scotia?
Something like that. Yeah,
Have you been to Nova Scotia?
I have. Yeah, it's,
What do you like better, West Coast or East Coast?
definitely West Coast, but East Coast is very nice as well. Yeah, it's just not somewhere I'd live from the winter, but I avoid the winter like crazy. But yeah,
Have you ever lived outside of the West Coast?
yeah, I lived in
Have you?
Ontario for 3 years.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I knew
Yeah,
that. So you get the full effects of winter there.
yeah, yeah, and that was a big part of moving back to the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, Rajat is in Halifax or Nova Scotia somewhere. We don't want to dox his location because he's a pretty famous guy here in Canada nowadays.
Yep.
But yes, it is Friday, which means we are back for another live stream for the Maple Bitcoin channel here. So I'm Jor, joined by my good buddy Forrest today. This one's titled What You Will Need Other Than Bitcoin. So we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, obviously, a little bit throughout. It's going to be all through a Bitcoin lens, but we're going to share some other insights and tools and some discussions of what people can be thinking about other than just simply stacking sats and staying humble. So we got a couple different things on the agenda, but maybe we should kick off with the big news of the week, Forrest, which was the Bitcoin's been captured by the CIA. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's something that I've heard a lot. I've actually heard that in person when I've brought that up to people as well. They're like, "Oh, I think the CIA created it. I think the NSA created it." And that keeps them away. And I mean, just straight off the bat, I think it's hilarious that it's like you would speculate on the creation of this thing being by some sort of government agency, and then your alternative is to adopt a currency that is 100% created by a government agency, or as close as you can get to a government agency with the Fed, right? They're supposed to be independent, but clearly they're not. Yeah, I mean, and then I think the other thing too is it's such like it's such uh, a left side of the bell curve meme in the way of thinking. It's just like because certain technologies were developed by government agencies like cryptography, like advanced cryptography and internet and like certain things, and so it's like those things are part of the building blocks of what led to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's obviously created by them too. It's like, no, they use technology that was developed in tandem from government, from private and public sector, right? Um, to create Bitcoin. And I think ultimately what it all boils down to in my eyes, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this too, but my thought is this, that it doesn't actually matter who created Bitcoin. It matters what Bitcoin is. And I made a video about this, and my releasing schedule for videos will be it'll be next Tuesday that it's released. So it's going to be late to the whole party and everyone will have already said everything. But it doesn't matter who created it, it matters what it is. And essentially Bitcoin is intentionally public with the ledger. And I think that's another thing people are missing here is they're saying, well, why is it not private? Why can you see people's transactions? That's intentional. It's to create accountability. Bitcoin was a response to the lack of transparency with the fiat system and the bailout of banks and the ability to control something that when there is no accountability and no visibility. So Bitcoin's direct response to that, and privacy can happen with Bitcoin. So that again doesn't make any sense for the CIA to create something, right? If you think of the CIA as an organization that wants intelligence on somebody and they're creating some technology to provide more intelligence for them, right? More data points for them. Bitcoin doesn't do that. Bitcoin can be used pseudonymously. So um, the only thing that connects you are these data silos of on and off ramps, and those are potentially hackable, or government can get access through subpoenas, or maybe they have backdoors. Not sure, but Bitcoin can be used completely privately if you don't use something like a centralized exchange, or there's additional technology built on top of it where you can delink your coins, you can use layer twos. There's all sorts of additional privacy features that can be built on top of Bitcoin. So thinking all this through, The incentives of CIA would be to create something where they can control something more, where they can harvest more information, where they can figure out transactions going place to place. And none of those incentives line up to what Bitcoin is. So it makes no sense. Like, I don't know who created Bitcoin, but the CIA have no incentives to have created something as powerful and to the individual users as Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think I would echo your statement there 100%. That was very well said. I think that the only thing I'd add to that is like with Bitcoin, I've thought this through a lot because whenever you first get into Bitcoin, you see the number go up. That's usually what get people through the door. But then they start sniffing around and they start looking for things that's wrong about it. Obviously, any logical thinker would say, okay, what am I missing here? What are my blind spots with Bitcoin? And so I've thought this through as much as I think I can anyways, and I just don't see any benefit to a centralized entity creating something like this. Like it doesn't benefit them one bit. You mentioned the kind of the layers being built on top of Bitcoin, like eCash, like Liquid, like all these different things that basically allow individuals to remain private. But as you mentioned there, to combat the banks and the central banks, it adds transparency to them because as we know, the US dollar has been around, as we know it anyways, for 112 years now. And the Federal Reserve itself has never been audited. There's been zero transparency the whole way. And when that's your starting point, how is anything accurate from that point in 1913? And so that's a big thing for me is like, it doesn't really make sense for a centralized entity to create Bitcoin. But the other part of that too, that I always go back to is like, maybe it was the CIA, maybe it was the NSA, maybe it was somebody in the government. But you have to remember that there's people make up these organizations. It's people.
Yeah.
And then there's good people, there's bad people in every entity. Even if you thought of the best company, the most ethical company, there's probably at least one or two bad people working in that company. There's probably one or two bad people watching the show right now. But like, I feel like most people are good. And I feel like if there is something of purpose, there are smart people out there who are able to release these things. And the cool thing about Bitcoin is that once it was released and once it got past a certain point, there's really no way to stop it. And it doesn't really matter who did create it at this point now. I think it would be impossible to stop. It's, I think, doable for them to slow it down and make it very difficult for Bitcoiners to transact with it, to buy it, to exchange it, to, interact with. But that's why we're here. That's why we're trying to build the roads right now to kind of go around that, because there are things that they can do. But what we want to do is find ways to kind of go around that. And Bitcoin, I think, is the best tool for the job.
Yeah, and you're right. That's the power of open source code is once it's
Yes.
released and it's opened and there's a repository that anybody can download, there doesn't need to be anybody hosting and running it so that people can publicly use it. People can host it locally and they can run it locally and they can test it and they can configure it and they can change it and they can adapt it to whatever needs best suit the individuals or their business prospects into the future. Open source code is like incredibly powerful. And I think we're going to get more into that into this talk. But another thing here that I just want to mention is just like the idea of not using Bitcoin because you don't know who created it is like not using the English language because you don't know who created it, right? And ultimately at this point, it doesn't matter. It's like not using fire because I don't know the first person, the caveman who discovered fire, right? So I'm not going to use it. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, it just matters so little. I think a lot of what Tucker said was actually incredibly novice when it comes to his understanding of Bitcoin. He talked about Bitcoin being an investment and that he doesn't want to have an investment in something he doesn't know the origin of. It's not an investment. It's money. It's money protocol. Like, so yeah, there's just a whole bunch of like missing parts there, which is crazy considering the caliber of people that he's talked to about Bitcoin. It seems like it's almost a psyop on his part, right?
Yeah.
Like he talks about the CIA, supposedly unknown to him. His dad was part of the CIA. He applied to be in the CIA. He's been, in my eyes, basically a propagandist on Fox News and beyond. I know I'll probably get flack for that. A lot of Bitcoiners love Tucker. To me, he's been caught lying lots of times.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's like, I don't trust people that have an agenda, and it's like he's talking about not trusting Bitcoin because of who he believes created it, right? So there's that idea of like, don't trust, verify, but it's like you can verify.
Mhm.
Like, and so I'm not going to trust your perception of this, Tucker, because I have verified that you have said things in the past that are not trustworthy. Um, and I can verify Bitcoin's code. So yeah.
I go back and forth with Tucker too. I mean, it's not really. I like Tucker myself. I think that what he's done is probably a net positive for the world. I also think that if you're just kind of relying on one person's perspective and opinion on it, then you probably don't deserve Bitcoin, which is kind of a shitty thing to say, but it's true. It's like if you're just going to take one person's word as gospel, and that's going to kind of make you not look at it any further than you probably should. Everything else, you might have all these different thoughts around your head, like, oh, the US government is going to start buying Bitcoin. Oh, Larry Fink has bought almost 1 million Bitcoin in the last year. It's like you have all these things in your head, but it's like, you know what? Tucker said it's a CIA asset, so I'm going to avoid it. I feel like people on that surface, if they're still there where they're relying on one person's opinion on it, they're probably not going to get too far in Bitcoin anyways.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of
And
how I think about it.
we're 11 minutes in. You're totally right. We're 11 minutes in and we've completely debunked this. So if you are
Right.
thinking this way because you heard Tucker in a 30-second conversation on a speech, and you're like, oh wow, okay, the CIA totally did this, or just that seed of doubt is enough for you to like ignore Bitcoin entirely because of because of the unknown of who created it, and yet we've debunked basically every single thing that he said within 10 minutes. um, then yeah, you're right. You don't deserve Bitcoin. Like it takes 10 minutes to get a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
And like the thing about all of this is like, Tucker offers one perspective, his own, right? I offer my own perspective. Jory, you offer your own. These things, we should never trust any individual, but you can diversify the perspectives that you intake and glean knowledge from all of those and think through the incentive structures. Use Occam's razor to think, okay, what is the most likely, what is the most
Mhm.
complicated and probably unlikely. We're never going to know absolute truth. We're never going to create a perfect circle. The circle is going to have little jagged edges around it, right? You're never going to get absolute truth. You can get your own personal truth based on um, your knowledge, your interpretation of the world, and that's going to be better if you intake more than one source.
Yeah, connecting the dots, but you need dots to connect.
Yeah,
If Tucker's your only dot, then you're going to have a pretty hard time here. I really liked that you said Bitcoin. We going back to the English language there. I think that that's a big one because I feel like this is a thing that most people miss is that money, in a way, kind of is a language.
yeah,
And I think that the one thing about the English language, even though it's kind of dominant throughout the Western world here and parts of other parts of the world, but like if you think about money as kind of a language in itself, in the sense that it's not a piece of paper, it's not an ounce of precious metal or anything like that. It's basically a ledger that keeps track of who's adding value to the world and who's owed value, who can cash in on that value at the time. And when everybody's speaking the same language, it makes things so much more easy, more efficient, right? Imagine if you went downtown to the place that you live and nobody spoke the same language as you, it'd be a nightmare. It'd be literally a nightmare. And so the one thing that Bitcoin allows is that it is a worldwide asset. It's a language that everybody can understand, and that is a very, very powerful thing, I think. And the other thing too that I think a lot of people are getting wrong with this is a lot of people believe that because we don't know who the creator of Bitcoin is, that that's a bad thing. But if you understand the dynamics of this whole system and why it is a problem that we know who created the fiat dollar and why it's a problem that they can issue more of it, it's actually one of the greatest strengths about Bitcoin is the fact that we don't know who created it.
yep, yep. You're right. Yeah, it is one of the greatest strengths, and every other money that hasn't been discovered. You can kind of think like Bitcoin, because we have such foggy ideas of the origin of Bitcoin. People are talking, oh, was it invented or was it discovered? I think the fogginess of who Satoshi was lends itself to the concept of it being discovered. I don't think it's perfect in that
Mhm.
way, but every other money is invented, right? There's a central bank that decides, okay, we're going to create a $10 note, a $20 note. We're going to start issuing it. That we can look into the history books at when they started doing it, and we can look into the history books of when it failed, because all of these experiments fail. And part of it is the fact that somebody can create it and has some sort of outsized control over how it gets implemented or how it gets dispersed. And that's the case with crypto as well. And that's what the origin story of Bitcoin is, part of what makes Bitcoin different than all of those other cryptos.
Yes.
And you cannot really create it a second time because everybody's now looking at this space. So the distribution has to be different. The adoption is probably likely faster. And then the adoption will fade and go to the next adoption, right? Because there's incentives of miners for, say, another proof of work coin that pops up, right? But those incentives are only economic. And once those fail, which they will, because the coin doesn't have the adoption that it needs to continue to grow, everybody goes back to Bitcoin, right? All roads lead back to Bitcoin. You cannot create what Bitcoin did a second time. There's just too many eyes on it now. It almost happened in this like test environment, like in this sandboxed environment that was completely open to the public, but because there were no eyes, it was limited to its exposure, and that allowed it to grow. That allowed the bugs to be found, fixed, soft forked, whatever, right? There was like the inflation bug that happened where there's all of a sudden, I can't even remember the number, 100 billion Bitcoin all of a sudden in one block or something. They just roll that back, fix it, because no one's using Bitcoin yet, right? If you do that, if you create a coin now, you have all this adoption, all of this economy behind it, and then you try to do something like that, you're now messing with the immutability of all of these transactions that have gone through. So yeah, Bitcoin's origin, although mysterious, is as perfect as it can get to make a money protocol.
It almost seems that way. Like it almost seems like, part of me thinks that it had to have been more than just a human being or a group of human beings that created it, for that reason of just how perfectly, not only the design itself of the code and the psychology behind it and the fixed supply, like all that to me is, agreed, as close to perfect as you can get, but just the timing of it, like right after the '08 crash, kind of right when the internet was really starting to get some steam. I don't think it could have been released any earlier than it did. And imagine if somebody tried to release Bitcoin today and remain anonymous. I feel like it's 1,000 times harder to be truly anonymous now versus 16 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that the project had to be unpopular for a long time because, like, there would be IP logs that just ended up getting deleted. There would be, I mean, it's so hard to not leave a trail digitally, and I think that because time passed was part of how Satoshi has continued to be able to remain anonymous, which is quite a feat, and I think, yeah, it would be way harder today, absolutely, for sure.
And when people think about why it's important that we don't know who it is because there's no ties to anything. There's no political association. There's no national association. There's no religious association with it. It's just Bitcoin, and it's open for everybody. Anybody can use it. Anybody with an internet connection can send it back and forth. Anybody with access to electricity can compete to win the next block. You don't have to have X amount of Bitcoin before you can start mining or anything like that. It's as close to perfect as perfect could be, I think. And that's why you and I have both dedicated our lives to it now. And, I think a lot of people in the chat have already and will continue to focus here because it is what it is. It's exactly what we think it is. I believe anyways. Of course, there's going to be some blind spots that might appear along the way, but that's just life. As long as you put in as much time and effort as you think is feasible, and this is the conclusion you come to, then you really can't ask for anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. And yeah, back to the idea of it being open source, I think that's another thing is like somebody that just hears, oh, the CIA created Bitcoin and they have no other concept of what's going on here or how code works. They probably think, oh, well, it's just some thing that operates. It's just some software. It's like Microsoft or something. And open source is just so much different. Like the way things get developed open in an open source project, anyone can fork it. Anyone can make a change, a soft fork or a hard fork, or backwards compatible or not, and submit it for review and there's a repository of maintainers for the client, for the reference client. But you can fork it and you can make the non-reference client and you can run that as long as it's compatible with the same network. And the nature of all of this just lends itself to developing in a natural way that has its hiccups, as we can see with like the core and knots debate and stuff, and with SegWit and with Bcache and BSV and all this stuff, right? But because of those hiccups, it allows the free market to naturally decide without there's no. So the reason we're kind of saying it's like near perfect is because humans are still involved and it is still software that needs to adapt and change to some slight degree over time. And because of that, it means that it's never going to be perfect. Like it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be hopefully good enough and as perfect as possible. And I think the only way to do that is with open source code. Is if you have somebody ultimately controlling the client that everybody runs in a software program, you have no ability to retaliate with your decisions with software. You have to defect entirely and join a different network. If you don't like Windows 11 and you can run Windows 10, but you open yourself up to malware possibilities because there's no security updates with it. Or you can completely defect and go to a completely different operating system like Linux. But you can't fork Windows 11 and create a system that has no spyware on it, right? It's just all you're able to get are the binaries, and you have no actual code base that you can change. So open source code, again, incredibly powerful. And the reality that we've made a money system that again, to your point, is global and everyone can have access to it and it's not siloed in any particular way is incredibly powerful. And I think all open source projects suffer from like bad UX, UI, because it's trying to be compatible in so many ways. And these things are ultimately like small choices that probably benefit from some centralization. But ultimately, fairness does not benefit from centralization. And that's what Bitcoin has is a high level of fairness.
Yes. From day one, from block zero, it's been that exact same way. And I think it'd be impossible to replicate anything close to Bitcoin now. Yeah, it's open source, I think, is such a big thing. And that's actually what Forrest and I are going to spend some time talking about today. We're going to share some tools. Sorry in the chat, I haven't brought up any comments yet, but it is just Forrest and myself today, so it's a little bit harder to stay on top of the chat and carry a conversation here. So bear with us. I would say if you do have any specific questions or topics you want addressed, you can either leave a super chat on Forrest's or Maple channel. I think we're set up for it again, right?
We are, yeah.
Or you can send a zap over on Nostr, and Nostr is actually something we're going to be talking about today. So maybe let's start with that, Forrest. I'll put up some of the comments here on screen, see if there's anything pressing, and maybe just kind of give your experience with Nostr so far. Let's start with that, because I think Nostr is probably the most important thing that we're going to be talking about today. I think it's the most underrated, slept on part of Bitcoin. I think that every Bitcoiner is out of their mind for not being on Nostr right now. And it is something that I think both of us want to see grow and improve here. And we are on Nostr right now. We're streaming on Nostr. So maybe, Forrest, just talk about your experience so far with Nostr, kind of maybe do your best to explain what it is in kind of a, grade 5 level or 5-year-old level for bozos like me, left side of the bell curve guys like me. And then we'll talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. I'm no expert on Nostr and I'm learning a lot myself as well. But my understanding of it is that it is open source protocol as well. And I think that's part of the challenge of using Nostr today is its open source nature has led it to be there's compatibility, but there's issues with compatibility between clients. And anyway, I'll explain that maybe later. But essentially, what it is it's the ability to relay information. So notes and other notes and other things,
Stuff
notes and other stuff
transmitted by
relayed,
relays.
transmitted through relays. I don't even know the abbreviation. There we go.
Well, I don't think it really matters though. Like,
No.
I feel like people get pretty caught up on like the relays and the clients and stuff like that. But maybe just explain for us, like, it's a protocol. Maybe start with
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and like what are the other protocols are we familiar with?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's important because that the name actually does explain what it is.
True.
It's
Yeah,
it's
true.
notes and other stuff transmitted over relays, and those relays are essentially servers, uh, and you can tap in. You can accept the feed of a server. So if anybody has posted a note and other stuff on that relay, and you have a client that can read that relay, you can receive their notes. And so this lends itself to building clients like kind of Twitter type clones, social
Mhm.
media clones. So people can, write a post and it's hosted on all of these relays is my understanding of it, and you can host it on your own. So it's sort of the idea of it is to be censorship resistant, so you can host your own media even if a relay kicks you off of theirs, right? Even if and if they kick it off of theirs, you can relay it on another one, and ultimately you can relay it on your own, so you can keep a record of all your own posts. And it uses Nostr private public key pairings, or NPUBs and NSECs, which are essentially a way to create a profile with all of your information, all your notes, and input that login credentials into any other Nostr client that runs on the same protocol, which I'll get into, and you get access to all your information that's compatible with that client or viewable with that client. So I have a Primal account. I download Amethyst. I download Damus. I log into Zapstream, and it's my same profile. It's got all my information and it's got all my data, which is really different than social media, right? Like Facebook is not compatible with YouTube and Twitter, right? These are all siloed individual data storage and broadcasting systems. So within there, you have the ability to be censored, right? I mean, how many people were kicked off of Twitter in the history of Twitter? And it becomes really problematic. Not only are you not able to continue posting, but you lose all your previous posts and all that data is gone. So yeah, it can be really bad. But yeah, so Nostr is basically the open source technology of being able to relay information, because that is what the internet is built on, right? Like right now we are relaying information and it's being hosted on different platforms. We are connecting, have a communication layer between each other uh, with our webcams, audio, everything. So this is sort of a new system that ties into the internet for transmission of data, but stores the data differently and relays it differently. And you can tap into those relays. And yeah, I mean, it's again open source, so anybody can take that information and decide to build sort of a traditional client or a traditional type website on Nostr in some way and have it tie into the Nostr ecosystem, which is pretty powerful in a lot of ways. The Nostr protocol is also really tied to Bitcoin in a lot of ways. So you can zap people on, say, Primal again, which is like a Twitter clone, and you can send value to people, which is amazing because, like, it's hard to get monetized on any social media platform. So immediately you can get monetized on these social media platforms just by connecting your Bitcoin wallet to it. And there's Nostr Wallet Connect, which is, again, more code that is created so that if other wallets are compatible with that, you can connect that wallet to your profile, and it'll be connected over all the other Nostr clients as well. Not every wallet is Nostr has Nostr Wallet Connect, so the ones that do, I mean, that's to me, this is all the future, right? Like, and it is the future, because right now, again, there's incompatibility issues. So, as I said, some wallets have Nostr Wallet Connect, some don't. It's difficult to connect your wallet, and to like I don't know. I still haven't figured out how to do it in Damus on Android. Like, I still don't know how to zap people on there, but it's super easy on Primal. But Primal has its issues too, and so there's just all these like incompatibility issues between it, because it's open source and because people can fork it, and then it creates like basically an error in between them, or they have this feature or they don't, right? So everything is unique, and I don't know. It's incredibly powerful. It's this whole idea of decentralized money that we have with Bitcoin is now sort of the decentralized social layer of communication with Nostr. At least that's what's being built, but that's not the only thing that needs to be built with, or could be built over on Nostr using the Nostr protocol. It's really up to the imagination and will of software engineers to develop more on using Nostr clients.
So what have you been using it for so far in your Nostr journey?
Well, I finally figured out how to use Zapstream. So
did you?
So next Monday, I do a live stream on my own channel. I'll be streaming it to Zapstream, and you can connect and stream to Nostr and Primal and Damus, just as we're doing right now with Maple Bitcoin's channel and Nostr profile. But yeah, mostly just posting, like basically copying my tweets, putting my tweets on Nostr, sharing my videos on Nostr, and getting zaps for creating value there and for contributing to the Nostr community. We've also, Josh and I from WorkSafe Bitcoin, we used Nostr login, the Nostr login code to create an account, basically a local browser saved account system for Sats Arcade, which is down for maintenance right now. But we integrated that intentionally to build on and use Nostr technology, basically to be a part of it and to develop it and see other use cases of it. It's had its challenges, and it's, there's all sorts of like, even that, right? Like, nobody wants to paste their NSEC into it. So it's like, okay, now we need to use other open source developed software that basically you log into this one extension and you can verify that you have the credentials on other Nostr sites without having to paste in your NSEC. So like everything is being built out as we speak. And there's things you don't even know that are on Nostr. There's things that like should be on Nostr. There's things on Nostr that don't work and need fixed. And it's kind of like the Wild West right now.
It is,
as far as I can see.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing for me is that you, even listening to people who are very bullish on Nostr, like people know that there's issues with it. Like I think that Bitcoin is the endpoint, like the end goal of what we're going for there. Obviously, there's going to be different layers built on top of Bitcoin, but the foundation layer itself of Bitcoin, I think, is solid, and I think that that's what it's going to be in 1,000 years from now. Nostr, I don't know yet. It's one of those things. It's like there's a lot of issues with it, but I still think it's a very net positive for the space overall. Like I've met so many great people on there. Just because they're on Nostr, we kind of have the Bitcoin thing in common. It's not only used for Bitcoin. There's a bunch of people who are on there talking about a bunch of other things, but it is a protocol, right? And so when you think about a protocol, that's like the internet, that's email, that's Bitcoin. So it's not like there's a Nostr website or there's not a Nostr app. It's a protocol, and you can build all these different things on top of Nostr. I've been using Nostr for about almost 3 years now. I joined in February of 2023, so I'm coming up to my 3-year anniversary on there, and I love it. I basically just cut out X. I'm still on there a little bit for Bitcoin stuff, but man, me compared to 3 years ago to today, like I would be on Twitter just ripping politicians, ripping the media, ripping whoever. And it was just like every time I logged in there, my blood pressure just went through the roof because it was just like so unproductive. But with Bitcoin, with Nostr, I feel like you want to be hanging out in places where there's intelligent people. There's people who are wanting to grow and build together and collaborate on things. And I don't think that there's a better place than Nostr for that right now. And the other thing you mentioned too was Zaps. And I think that that's such an important feature within Nostr. And I think it's, to me, the most important part is you can send, using Bitcoin, you can send value for a post. So this is a post. This is Franny. She's over on Nostr. She got 18,000 followers. Wow. But this is a meme she shared today. Can I call you back? I'm watching a live stream. But I wanted to share this because this post, she got 478 sats for this post. So it's like
also KYC free.
KYC, exactly.
Like it's just free. It's peer-to-peer payments through Lightning, just zapping each other back and forth.
And if you think about it, like I look at something like this where there's a like button there, to me that just seems very fiat. It's just like an illusion. You're able to manipulate it and kind of game the system and, you know, spin up bots or spin up comments and, you know, whatever it may be. Whereas this, if I like a post, you know, if it's worth me sending 88 sats for it or 1,000 sats for it, like there's something there. There's something much more powerful than just pressing a like button or double clicking a post. It's just like, okay, we've kind of been past that already. But going back to what you're saying there with YouTube, if you wanted to start your own YouTube channel today, you have to get to either 500 or 1,000 subscribers, whatever that may be, 2,000 or 4,000 watch hours before you can even earn a single penny from YouTube. So just imagine that. Imagine how much time and energy and effort you have to put in to comply with the current standard versus just spinning up an NPub, starting a Nostr account, sharing your content and your thoughts, your pictures, your videos on there. And the first post you make, if other people get any value from it, they can send you that day, that second, and you're going to receive it instantly. And as Forrest said there, your credit card's not entered in, your phone number's not entered, your real name's not entered in there. This is freedom to me. This Nostr represents freedom to me.
Yeah, it's the way things should be. There's no advertising. There's
no algorithm.
I mean, yeah, maybe it could be debated to the detriment. There's no algorithm on a lot of these clients. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about was how do you use this? Like you just showed how to zap, basically, like the usage of zapping for some content you found valuable. And I remember watching a video of yours about Nostr where you're like, just follow like 500 people immediately, and then look on the profile or like the main feed and just start unfollowing people where you find no value from it, because otherwise you're getting nothing. Like that's when I first joined Nostr, I was like, oh sweet, like Bitcoin social media kind of thing. And I followed like a few of the Bitcoiners that I knew from Twitter, and I was like never using it because there was just nothing on there. So that was a big turning point for me to be able to use Nostr, was following a bunch of people. But even still, without the algorithm, I find the content hard. I find it hard to really signal out, like there's a lot of reposts that I'll get, and there's a lot of noise. So how have you found to like optimize for that?
Yeah, that must have been an older video you watched mine, but that's what I did when I started Nostr. I just followed a bunch of people. I had no idea who they were. Half of them were just NIMs, you know, with a random AI generated profile picture. I was just like, yeah, cool. His bio looks interesting. I'm going to follow him, or she looks interesting. I'm going to follow her. But kind of I actually thought about this morning as I was kind of going through things. Basically, that's what I do before every one of my live streams every morning, is instead of going through X, which I used to do, I go into Primal and I go to trending the last 24 hours.
Okay.
And so it's different every day for me. I do it at pretty much the same time. So it's like a whole refresh of new posts from that day. And the cool thing about that is, I was thinking about this morning, is if I was on X or if I was on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube even, they would be showing me things that I've looked at before. So I'm not really like, you know, I'm not really growing. I'm just kind of like going in the same spot over and over again. Whereas using it this way, because there's no algorithm on Nostr, there's no, you know, nobody's giving me information that they think that I'll like, I'm actually able to see things that are outside of my window, essentially.
Right.
So if there was a post that, you know, and it's all kind of based on zaps, comments, you know, overall traction, I think that's how they do the 24-hour trending.
So it is an algorithm, but it's just based on engagement. It's not based
Yep,
on some data profile of what they think
exactly,
you will be enjoy or be
exactly.
angry with. That's the other thing about algorithms. Is it's literally just trying to
Spark
bait
engagement.
and spark engagement out of you. Yeah. So it is an algorithm in sense the 24-hour trending, but it's based on just pure engagement of those posts.
What the community has found most valuable.
Yeah. I like that. I've never used that tab. I'm gonna start doing that. That is a really good tip, I think.
So if you, I mean, it's pretty easy to do. Like I use Amethyst the most. Like on
Mhm.
Android, I use Amethyst. It's kind of my number one. I feel like it's the best Noster client that exists. But at the top there, if you go to Primal, it just says like latest at the top. Oh,
Yeah.
you can see Maple Bitcoin right there. We're streaming at the top. But if you go down to latest and there's trending 24 hours there, that's what I go to.
Nice.
And
Okay.
it's actually really long. Like the problem I found with the Amethyst one is that there's only like 20 and then it's done. So it's always
Right.
like Odell and like Hodl and but I actually, the further you go down here, the more like interesting posts you'll find and like new people you'll discover on there.
That's cool.
So it's
No,
kind of like
yeah, that's
manual
awesome.
discovery. It takes a little bit more work, but like it goes for days, man. Like it honestly takes me like half an hour, 45 minutes to kind of go through the whole feed.
Yeah, and you know what, the other thing that I've noticed with Nostr is there are people that are not Bitcoin related at all, and they'll post something on there like an introduction, or maybe they're a musician, they'll post like one of their songs. And the Nostr community, because it's not Bitcoin and because they really want this to become something, they're very enthusiastic. And not only are they will they follow that person and start engaging with them, but they'll zap them a bunch for the content they're creating. And then that person now has a new revenue stream. And there's even what's it called? Is it like, I think it's called like Wave Lake or
Wave
something?
like,
You
yep.
Yeah. And so that's like a Spotify type client, and people can put the music on there and get streams and get zaps, and there's people with like hundreds of thousands of satoshis for their songs, for their music on there, and there's great music. And it's like that niche thing where if you're a small musician, if you're a small creator, you actually like, you want to broadcast to the large general public, right? Like you want to do that, but you're not going to find any immediate growth. Like it'll be cream to the crop with the algorithm over a long period of time. Maybe you'll
Yep.
your video will hit, or your song will hit. You'll get put into a Spotify playlist, or hit the homepage of Reddit or whatever, right? Of something. But even with that, right? It's like you need to niche down, and Noster itself maybe a bunch of Bitcoin content, but it itself is like a niche community because of the size of the user base. So if you go on there with your content, you could see a huge amount of engagement, even from people that, like from people that otherwise you would never reach, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, there was a girl on there last week I saw. She's a musician and she basically said that she spent years on Spotify and after a couple months on Noster, she had made more on Noster from Zaps and from Sats than she did in years of being on Spotify.
That's crazy.
And I feel like that's one day, I don't know when it'll happen or how it'll happen or if Nostr can even handle it, but like imagine Morgan Wallen or yeah, I don't like Taylor Swift, but imagine Taylor Swift posting a song exclusive to Nostr. Like one of those artists could, and that's the other part too. Like they don't really need it, but if there's like a mid level kind of
Yeah.
artist that like people really liked, so I bet somebody could make like a full Bitcoin or two off of there just by posting their songs exclusively to Nostr, which is like massive. And there's no record label there. There's no, percentage or agent or whoever taking like 90% of that. It's like they own it. They get all the benefits from it. It's non KYC. It's just like there's so many reasons why people should be doing this. That's just one.
Yeah. Well, there's this idea as a creator where I don't know who said it, but it's this idea of like, get your you can become a full-time creator if you have 1,000 true fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
And
was it Malcolm Gladwell? No.
I can't
I don't
remember.
know, but I know. Oh, I know who it was. Kevin Kelly, I think.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I'm
Thousand,
not sure
thousand
even.
true fans.
Yeah, 1,000 true founds. And there's all of these, exactly as you say, like musicians are a really good example. So we'll continue using them, but like a mid-level independent artist getting like a few songs on YouTube that have 1 million views, right? 1 million views is a lot, but for musicians, like some musicians get hundreds of millions, right? On each song they post. But these musicians have a following, few hundred, maybe a couple thousand even. But if those people were to post on Nostr, they would immediately like double the true fans that they would have, because they're now contributing to this community that is so hungry for engagement from the other communities besides just Bitcoiners. And even Bitcoiners, right? Like there's a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on YouTube that make Bitcoin content that really neglect Nostr. And then when they do post on Nostr, it's like they get a huge amount of engagement. And it's just why wouldn't you? Like, what's the added difficulty here? Yeah, I think we're gonna see that happen. We're gonna see, I don't know. I don't even know who. Just, yeah, some independent artists that are smallish, have a fan base. When they post a Nostr, they're going to explode. It's going to be a bit of a media story, and it's going to become a thing to do to further your music career. I can see that happening at some point.
I also think that for people watching this today, they're like, well, okay, that's cool, but I'm not a musician. I'm not a content creator. What's in it? Why would I join Nostr? And to me, I think that if you think about it this way, if you think about Bitcoin as being a replacement or a monetary network that essentially takes out the middleman, it's a peer-to-peer network. And so when you don't have a middleman in that transaction, like I know we like to shit on middlemen, how much they take from it, but it removes the need for trust. That's what middlemen have done through the past. And I feel like the one thing that Nostr has done and will continue to do is build your own web of trust. So if you want to start interacting with people, if you want to start moving into a Bitcoin standard from the fiat system, you're going to have people in your network. And so I feel like the longer you spend, in a chat's one thing, in a school community is one thing, but like if you have an identity that you own and you're the only one who can sign posts from that NPub, and you start interacting with people on there, you can post, you can comment, you can share, you can do all these things to kind of start building up your own reputation. And you're going to find people that you can buy and sell from around the world. And I feel like the more people you have in your web of trust, the faster you can leave the fiat system. And I think that Nostr is kind of like the place to build your reputation. That's how I would be thinking about this. If I was just like a random person who doesn't make music, doesn't, share live streams and stuff like that, just get on there and start interacting. Number one, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be hanging out with probably the most intelligent group of people on the planet. I would be hard pressed to find, I think, a more intelligent per capita than people on Nostr.
Yeah.
So you're going to meet people on there. You're going to learn a bunch of things, but most importantly, you're going to start to build a reputation. And I think in a world without middlemen, reputation is paramount. And it's not something you can buy. It's not something you can do in a week or two. It's something that takes years to develop there. And so I think that if you are somebody who's been kind of sleeping on Nostr and just dragging your feet, or this is the first time you've heard about it, I would say just start. You're not going to be perfect. Like Forrest said, I was kind of the same experience myself. Is like the first couple of weeks or a month are going to be very lonely because there's no algorithm feeding you into different things. But it is what you make of it. And I think the earlier you join and you start contributing to it, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. And this is a really good topic for this, for the title of this stream, which is what you will need other than Bitcoin. Your reputation is, again, not something you can buy. If you stack sats at the detriment of your reputation, you're not going to be able to get your reputation back. There's that saying, again, don't know who it's from, but it's like it takes years to build a reputation and only hours to destroy it. And recently I've kind of seen that. Like an example of that to me is Naval, right? Like it's somebody that we both respect that's created really meaningful content that's impacted us. His podcast amalgamation of how to get rich without getting lucky is incredible. And yet he's shilling Zcash on Twitter, and basically that's a known VC coin that's a pump and dump. So
I didn't even see that.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Was that just recently?
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago now, but he's kind of had a few other comments about it and stuff too.
Well, he always
Um,
says crypto. I did notice that. Like he never really
yeah,
he does differentiate Bitcoin from crypto, but I feel like he's always kind of been he believes in the future of crypto as much as Bitcoin. I think he knows enough to kind of differentiate them two, and he's very early. I can't imagine how many Bitcoin he has. But I could see that. Like it wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me because he has always been kind of a crypto advocate, not just strictly a Bitcoin advocate.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe not the best example for this then if that's
No,
your
but that's fair.
understanding of
That's a good
him.
point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So to me, that wasn't really my understanding of him, and anybody shilling crypto, I lose some respect for immediately. So, um, either respect of like, oh, you haven't studied enough, or you have ill intent, and I think it's likely he knows what he's talking about, and that there's an ulterior motive to this, and a lot of people that are very rich, whether they did it through luck or not, with his video series there, they have additional ways to make money, and one of those might be from selling coins that they had early allocation to. So to me, again, that was an example of how you can take years to build up a reputation and create at least chips in the reputation, little chunks out of it relatively quickly. So it's
Pomp
something you got
too.
to protect. What's that?
Pomp too.
Yeah, Pomp. Jeff Park too. He just made a post about like how Bitcoin and climate change are the same thing, and how like we need a Bitcoin Greta to like champion it. And it was just a ridiculous post. It was so dumb. And he's like also said like, oh, I'm not mad at a 60-40 Bitcoin Zcash portfolio. And like, I'm just like, oh my God.
What the
But
hell is
he's
Zcash? I've never even heard of it before.
it's just a privacy coin. It's similar
Oh,
to Monero, different aspects of it, but yeah, it's just a privacy coin. And privacy is like the next shilling point, I would say, with crypto. There's always cycles of these things, and yeah. Anyway, yeah. So these reputations get destroyed pretty quickly, and it's kind of the idea of like slay your heroes and don't trust verify, and don't just take in one person's data point and trust them entirely. But it also shows you how important reputation is, right? And this is something that you cannot buy. And in fact, these people are selling their reputation for money. It actually is the opposite at this point. Um, so yeah, building that up with something like Noster makes a lot of sense, right? Like you can connect a lot more directly with people on there, and actually have build meaningful um social relationships on something like Noster.
yeah. If you think about like, let's use eBay as an example. I like using eBay because eBay basically got to become eBay because they were the trusted third party in the transactions. People could list things that they want to sell on there, and people could go on there if they wanted to buy things. And eBay essentially was the one who kept everybody honest in the transaction. But of course, if I want to sell something on eBay, I have to pay them 25%. That's their value there, and they're not afraid to take it from you, right? Whereas if somebody popped up on Noster tomorrow and they were selling something, I would be a little bit fearful. I probably wouldn't buy it because they haven't earned my trust yet. Whereas somebody like let's use either Mav21 or Maria, like I'm just thinking of people who I met on Noster who I've known on there and interacted with for 2 years. If they're selling something now, I would have zero issues buying it from them because
Mhm.
they've earned my trust through time. And I feel like Noster is a perfect tool for that because, and I don't know Mav's first name, right? Like it doesn't matter what it is. I'm not asking for his passport information or anything like that. It's stuff that he's actually done. It's contributions he's actually made, interactions that I've had with him through time. And again, you can't buy that. You can't shortcut that. That's something that only comes through time. And I think that we Bitcoiners, we understand that there's a major problem in the current financial system. And so, what a lot of people are trying to do is they're trying to build their own roads. They're trying to build their own circular economy. Because
Mhm.
if you can get somebody who cuts your grass, somebody who cuts your hair, somebody that you buy meat from, somebody that cleans your house, and you can start paying everybody in Bitcoin. And guess what? You don't need a bank account anymore. And so all those people along the way that you meet, that Nostr, I think, is a boost for that. And it is something I think that people, Bitcoiners especially, should be taken seriously right now. And so maybe, I don't know if you have anything to add to that for us, but like you mentioned, you used Primal. I use Amethyst. Where should people start even? Like, where did you start when you started on Nostr?
I started with Amethyst. I can't remember why I even switched to Primal. I think Primal has some issues where it's not as decentralized with the relays. I don't fully know what that is. I've just heard that from
Yeah.
other people, that it's basically one centralized relay or something like that. That doesn't really make sense to me because you can add additional relays. I'm not 100% sure, but Primal is really user friendly, I found.
Yes.
And way easier to connect your wallet. That was one of the biggest issues I had, was figuring out how to connect a wallet to send zaps and how to connect a wallet to receive zaps. Was not intuitive at all, and there was very little information about it. That's one thing. Like, that's one niche that, sure, at this point probably not going to get very many views, but could become legendary videos at a certain point, is like Nostr tutorials, because
Nothing.
it is so difficult, and there's nothing yet. And maybe and I think you talked about this in a live stream, because I did bring that up actually once, and you're saying like these things are changing so rapidly that you make content about one and then all of a sudden it's not relevant anymore because they just fixed the UX or whatever it is, right? So
Yeah, because I would be talking about like ways around things, or like tricks and stuff, and it's like, okay, next week somebody patched that, so it's not even an issue anymore.
exactly, yeah. But I
yeah,
think any of those clients are going to work for you.
Yeah.
I would start with Amethyst or Primal, I would say. I don't have much experience with Damus. I tried it, but like, again, connecting the wallet was like almost impossible for me. And well, literally, I couldn't solve it. I couldn't figure it out. So
I think the main thing that people should know, kind of with that in mind, because like you said, and when we say client, that basically means like an app that you can download from the App Store, or it's like a website that you could use as like a web browser. But they're all different in terms of how you can actually send zaps to other people. And when we say zaps, we mean like you can literally just send sats back and forth, peer to peer, because it's connected to their Lightning address. But that's an easy one, I think, to just for people who are new to Nostr, is just like all you need to do is have a Lightning address, so you could get it from like Speed, Rizful, Wallet of Satoshi, CoinOS, and basically all you do is copy and paste that into your profile as like your Bitcoin tips or Lightning receive address or Lightning tips address. It's everyone I've found anyways. It's, you always have to go in to edit your profile. And so any zaps that are incoming, they're all going to go to that exact same Lightning address. You can only have one of those, but certain clients or certain apps, if I wanted to zap somebody, I could actually choose which wallet I wanted to zap it from. So the inroads, people who are zapping you, if you want to receive sats, it's all going to the same address, but you can actually choose basically which Lightning address based on the app or the client that you're using. But a lot of them are very functional in terms of you get to decide which wallet you want to send from.
right. Yeah. And I found the easiest way to do this was actually using Coinos, because they have Nostr Wallet Connect. And
Yep.
so you can use it for your receiving and your sending. That was, I found, the easiest.
Oh, really? Okay. I've actually never used the Nostr Wallet Connect. I've always just opened up my wallet whenever I want to send a zap.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, no, I have it all automated. You just click it and it
Click it.
works. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that helps a little bit. Again, someone needs to make a tutorial. I know we both make videos, so maybe it'll be one of us.
Well, I've been
But,
thinking about it. I was just thinking about doing like that's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation today, is just for kind of that purpose, and anybody who finds this. But yeah, there definitely needs to be something.
Yeah.
I've been thinking through it. There's just a lot of different things, because it's hard. Every client's so different, but I think it's important for people to kind of understand the fact that they are different, in the sense of you could take your same public key and your private key, which are called NPubs, like your NPub public key, and NSEC. I don't know what SEC stands for.
I don't either.
Security key.
Maybe.
So very similar to like your Bitcoin wallet, where you have your receive address, your public address, and then your public address, and then you have your private key that allows you to send Bitcoin. It's the same kind of thing with Nostr. You have your private key, which allows you to sign transactions instead of. I guess it's the same kind of thing. But the point is you could actually take that key pair and you can bounce between clients. So if you set it up with Primal, you could actually take that same public key and private key and hop over to Amethyst. And then you could take that same key pair and hop over to Nostrudel or Damus, which is kind of cool. But the thing is like, even though they're all running on top of the Nostr protocol, every app has different features. Every app has a different way of doing things, which is good and bad. So you can kind of find the one that makes the most sense for what you're using it for. Like I use Primal for the 24-hour feed. I use Amethyst for pretty much everything else. But you can kind of bounce between them, which is really cool. Like Forrest said, it'd be like going from Twitter to TikTok using your same account. And everything on TikTok, everybody's following you over there. You're following everybody. And then you go back to Twitter and it's the same kind of thing. It's the exact same people. It's the exact same feed. They just have different features there.
Yeah.
So I do think it's really, it's one of those things. It's open source. People are building on it. New clients are popping up every day. And it's exciting. And it's just exciting to me how well it integrates with Bitcoin.
Yeah, it is exciting. And to me, it also feels like I first got into Bitcoin for the first time, and after that I ignored it forever. But I first got into it in 2017, and it feels similar to me. The lack of information, the difficulty of use, the incompatibility. Bitcoin in 2017 feels like Nostr today in that sense. So we all say about Bitcoin, oh, we're so early. And we are ultimately very early to Bitcoin still today. But we are very early to something like Nostr if we actually start using it meaningfully today, because and you have to you suffer through the problems of being an early adopter, which is struggling to find information and having to create little hacks to make things work. Like Jor, like you didn't do the Nostr Wallet Connect, but you can still zap people because you figured out a way around it, right? There's these like little ways around things, which is just part of it. And it's not, so that makes it not for everybody. And as we talked earlier about it being sort of a niche community and being able to stand out, it not being for everybody is part of the value proposition of being there. Like that is actually a positive, because Nostr is going to change over time. It's going to be way more, user friendly. Everyone's going to be on it. And then we're all going to be hipsters saying, oh, I used Nostr back in 2015 and it was way better back then. I used it before it was cool, and
100%.
It's going to be true. Yeah.
But by the time, like, if people wait for that to happen, they're going to be too late.
Yeah.
It basically be like joining TikTok today. You ever notice how people have like millions of followers? It's not because they did anything great. They were just there early. And so there's a mismatch there. And Gary Vee talks about this all the time, underpriced attention, essentially, where there's more people consuming than there are creating.
Yeah.
And right now we're at the point on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube where there's just as many people creating as there's as many people consuming that. But right now on Nostr, like there's a huge disconnect there. And I think that, it's the only place I got a zap from Jeff Booth on there. I've got a couple zaps from Jeff Booth. It's the only place that he's on. You can't find him anywhere else. Same with Odell and American HODL. And like, it's cool to be able to interact with these guys because it's almost like you're just having a conversation with them. It's not like in a centralized place where you don't know if it's them or not, or you don't know if they've hired somebody to run their account. It's like you're interacting with real Bitcoiners here and they can send you sats, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioning Gary Vee is so funny to me because like, it's only a matter of time before that guy is
he would love
I'm
Nostr.
All in on Nostr. I'm all in on Nostr. I'm selling my VFriend NFTs on Nostr, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just a matter of time because that dude was early. Like he was early to TikTok when it was still called Musical.ly. He put that into his book, like before it was even a thing, basically. And he's early to all that stuff because that's what he cares about. And it's so true what you said, where there's an under amount of creation and an over amount of eyeballs on the
Yeah.
creation. You said it much more eloquently, but that's essentially what it is there's more people wanting content. And when that's the case, the content creators get rewarded in an outsized way.
It's that and sats too. Like by the time everybody shows up there, somebody will send 5 sats and it'll be like such a huge deal. Whereas now
Yeah,
it's like
sure.
5 sats is just kind of like you kind of don't even notice it. But the first month I think I was on there, Jack Dorsey, because Jack Dorsey actually helped bootstrap it. He was the one who
Mhm.
funded the development of Nostr, but he was zapping people 1 million sats.
Crazy.
And I think he did it like 21 times or something. That's when I was like, okay, there's something here because this is really cool. The fact that a billionaire, the guy who created freaking Twitter, is on here sending people 1 million sats at a time just for like they weren't even like good posts. He was just like finding random people on Nostr and just zapping 1 million sats.
That's cool. That's
Like
a
how
that's a
cool
good
is that?
it's
That'd be
really
like
cool.
somebody's peak of their life getting zapped by Jack Dorsey 1 million sats.
Yeah, which is life changing money at some point if held in that held in those sats. And my only question is when is Nostr going to implement microsats? When are you going to be
True,
able to set a fraction of a
true.
sat? Because eventually that's probably going to end up being the case. And all these sats that we accumulate now, that again, as you said, 5 sats, doesn't even show up on the 1 cent mark. But is pretty meaningful in the future if Bitcoin continues doing what it does, which it will. And then, it's like these sats accumulate. Like, why not? Why not just go on there and stack some additional sats and make like what is the harm? And immediate monetization. It's a no brainer.
Yeah. The one tip I would have for people when they're starting out on there is like, well, this is kind of what I noticed when I first got on there. I had like a dedicated budget, my Zap budget, where I would
Yeah.
just like zap people, but it worked. Like honestly, man, like I was able to get like the attention of like some of the bigger Bitcoiners because of that. Like Jeff Booth's following me on there, like Odell, because I zap them. And so that's what I would say is like when you get into this, how you really get people's attention is you zap them. It could be even if it's just like 2,000 sats or whatever that is, like it's going to get somebody's attention much more than just you liking their post or you reposting them or replying to their comment or their post. Zap people. Just take like consider it an investment in your future of whatever you're doing. Just start zapping people and you're going to get people's attention. That's basically the only people that I follow are people who have zapped me before because I don't really notice anything else. It's the only thing of substance on there for me.
Yeah, money talks.
Money talks.
And you can send money directly to people. And yeah, I like your idea of that the like is fiat because it is just there's nothing backing it.
Nothing.
It's just yeah, an idea. It's an idea that somebody liked this, but there's not really any meaning behind it beyond that.
Speaking of Nostr, we had more Vian zapped us 1,000 sats over on the Nostr stream. So thank you, Moravian. Moravian? I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong, but anyways. And we got some zaps to the QR code here, Forrest. We got somebody sent in 1,000 sats and said, appreciate the content. Keep it up. We had somebody send in 1,111. I'm thinking that was Samantha. She said, hi, Jor. Hi, Forrest. And we had 3690. Thanks, guys. Great topic. Greetings from Alexandra.
Nice. Thanks, everybody.
So there's the power of zaps and sats coming in right now.
And we got a few people throwing their NPubs in the chat as well. And I'm not logged in on my computer, so I'll have to. I've copied them. I'm gonna follow you guys after the show.
Nice.
And we also got a super chat from Nav.
Yep. Just woke up.
My insomnia have been making me miss Jor's show. Forrest, when do you stream? I always miss them. I stream on Monday. I didn't stream this Monday because I was traveling, and then I didn't get my green screen together until afterwards. So anyway, just missed the stream this week, but usually Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when I stream.
Which is what, 1 p.m. Eastern time? 3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours different. Yeah.
And Nav, I haven't done any shows this week, so you haven't missed anything.
You've been on, haven't you been on
I've been
Rumble
on leave.
or no? Oh, you've been on leave.
No, my mom had a surgery on Monday, so we were in the big city. We got home late last night, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
went well though. Everything's good.
That's good to hear.
Yes. So thank you, Nav, and I'll be back Monday for the stream.
Perfect. We'll both be streaming on Monday. You can
Yes.
watch both at the same time, Nav. I think.
Back to back.
What time do you start yours?
I start at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which would be 7
Oh,
your time.
okay. Yeah.
So start with
Right.
mine, then go over to Forrest.
Yeah. Yeah. I've caught some of your streams on the early morning baby hangouts. That's when you're streaming for me.
Yeah, because it was even earlier than that before, probably for you. Like I used to start at like 6 for you or 6:30 almost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I bumped it up a little bit here. Canadian Bitcoiners, y'all heard? Maybe let's go through a couple questions
let's do
here,
it.
Forrest. Have you tried the new Bull Bitcoin app?
Yeah, I have. I did try it. I actually saw a presentation from Ben Sessions, is what I like to call him, BTC Sessions. People think that's his last name. It's not, but I like to call him that. Yeah, Ben Sessions did a demonstration of it using the cold card, connecting it, and creating a watch only wallet, being able to sign transactions through the cold card using the Bull Bitcoin app, being able to buy and sell on the wallet itself. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty sweet. It's a wallet, which is really cool because people, it's like it's kind of one or the other, right? Like it's like you have a wallet or you have an exchange, and you think you have a wallet if you're uneducated in Bitcoin because you have Bitcoin on the
Right.
exchange, right? And you don't understand or even know or care maybe about the self-custody aspect of it. However, Bull Bitcoin is like the other good exchanges in Canada, like Bitcoin Well and like Beaver Bitcoin, that are non-custodial only, which means when you buy Bitcoin, they send it to your wallet. So what Bull Bitcoin did to sort of create an easier way to do that is they created their own mobile wallet and they integrated that into their app. So you can buy on the wallet, but hold it in self-custody in a software wallet or a hardware wallet. So really, really smart.
Yeah. They use Liquid too, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they use Liquid and they have Lightning on there as well. So it would be a submarine swap, which I've seen are higher fees than Aqua. So I don't know how Aqua's doing it for like, it's like a fraction, like a quarter of the fees or something on Aqua for swapping. So they must have a different protocol for swapping. I'm not sure.
That they use Bolt. Well, is it Bolt 12?
No, it's Bolts. Bolts is
Oh,
the
Bolts. Right.
exchange. Yeah, Bolt 12 is like a static Lightning address that changes underneath it or something like that. I can't remember what Bolt 12 is. Anyway.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, we're pretty fortunate here, all things considered, in Canada. Like with our government that we have here, it's pretty crazy how many really good tools we have at our disposal here. So
that's available, I think, worldwide though.
Yeah.
The app is, at least. The buying and selling through their exchange, there's only certain countries they're open in, which I think the US might not be one, but they have like Costa Rica and
France.
a few other ones. Yeah, France. Yeah. I could be wrong about the US too. I'm not 100% sure if they operate in there or not.
Josh, WorkSafe Bitcoin says, took me nearly a year to get monetized on YouTube. Yeah, I feel you, man. That's so crazy to me how somebody could spend a year, that energy, that effort for YouTube, essentially, because YouTube makes their money off of showing ads during videos, and they don't give you anything back for that amount of time. Like, it's nuts to me. But he said, I always think about how many sats I'd have if I was getting zaps from day one. I mean, that's the thing, is like just what we were talking about there is there's going to be more people on Nostr. There's going to be more creators on Nostr, like actual creators who have big audiences already. And the sats that you're going to be able to get are going to be, cut in half and then cut in half again. And it's just going to keep going down and down. So there's no better time than like literally today to get onto Nostr and start sharing stuff on there.
Yeah. I recently got remonetized, but I was demonetized for a portion there. And it was like mentally, even though I still have these businesses that are associated with my content, mentally not getting paid for the views that I got from AdSense was like, gave me less of an incentive to do this. And
what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, the point is that it becomes only passion, right? Which should be a huge portion of your motivation. but having that additional incentive of being able to actually have monetary value from your creation is massive. And as a small channel, there's these small channels that you can have way more than 1,000 subscribers, but you also need 4,000 watch hours to get monetized. And there can be these channels that just spend years constantly getting around the same amount of views, maybe a couple hundred of a video, but it takes a while for them to make a video, and it's per 365 days, right? So
Yeah,
every
right.
day that goes by, they lose those previous hours that they had gotten. So they need to make up for that and more on the next day. So there can just be this loop of being a small content creator where you never get monetized on YouTube. You get enough subscribers, but you'll never get enough watch hours because you're inconsistent or whatever. And the time goes by, and you might get a spike in one video, but then that creeps by, and those hours are now worth nothing to YouTube's monetization platform policy. And yeah,
And
it's just
sorry, I was just gonna
ridiculous.
say,
Yeah.
Forrest, like the reason why that is because there's way more creators on YouTube. Like
Yeah.
they have to do that. They have to try to show the consumers on YouTube, which would be the audience, the most relevant video. And if there's just as many creators as there are consumers on YouTube, then they have to make it harder for people to actually achieve something before they can start allocating some of their time towards that person, right? But it is very difficult, and I think even harder to actually earn a living off it. And so you're kind of stuck in this trap where you're not making anything from it, so you don't really feel incentivized to add more to it, and then you just kind of fall behind, and then you have to pivot and do something else. It's really hard to do.
It's very tough. It's very difficult to do. The other reason they do it as well is because they want to have some ability to know what you create. And if you're just a random, like, they don't want to show ads next to like an ISIS video, which they had previously
True.
done, right? This is part of like why their policy changed. Was there were all of these crazy videos that were showing like Gerber ads and Walmart ads and all these like, you know, brands did not want to be associated with these videos. So those videos can still go up on YouTube. Eventually they'll, get found and taken down, like really bad stuff or whatever, but they're not having ads run against them. And then at a certain point, the YouTube channel gets enough subscribers and watch hours, and YouTube dedicates a person, or maybe it's an AI, that takes a look at it and says, okay, your content is safe enough for us to actually monetize. So it's a way of them filtering people out. It's a form of censorship as well. Like I, talked about the really
100%.
bad stuff that they don't monetize, but who's to say maybe Bitcoin, it will become so associated with criminal activity that even talking about it gets you demonetized or will not get you monetized, right? So the perception of what is acceptable can always change, and it's up to them to decide. And again, that is just not the case with a protocol where you can host your own content like Nostr, which not only does it solve for some of the monetization aspect of it, right? It's a different form of monetization. It's not businesses paying you, it's peer-to-peer payments based on value, which is arguably better, but it's ultimately different. And then being able to host your own content without somebody letting you or not letting you do that.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And I think, as Bitcoiners, I think we get pretty excited about watching the price and, talking about different happenings in Bitcoin. And I just think that people spend too much time in that versus like, even worrying about things like CBDCs and digital IDs and all this kind of stuff. Like the brain power that's wasted on that is just like for nothing, because you're not going to be able to stop it yourself. But the one thing that you can do is start building your own roads. The governments aren't just going to come out ever and say, okay, you know what? We've messed up here. We're going to switch to a Bitcoin standard. Everything's going to be, all good. Sorry for whatever we've done, but you got Bitcoin now. It's like, no, they're going to keep pushing harder. They're going to get more insane somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but they're going to. And people are going to be trapped in that. And I think that there's going to be a big split that happens. People who are just lazy and keep going down that road and will adopt CBDCs and just, digital IDs. But there's going to be a huge swath of people who actually say, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about you anymore. There's this new thing called Bitcoin. There's this new thing called Nostr. There's this circular economy that I'm building myself where I can buy and sell with everybody that I know. And I don't need the banking system. I don't need your approval for anything. So basically GFY, but I have the roads now, and that's what we're trying to build here, right? Is we're trying to build the roads in this new economy. I think that is going to be censorship resistant, unstoppable, and very, very, very important for anybody who values their freedom, I think, in the future.
Yeah, and the roads don't get built unless people build them, right? It takes work.
And it takes time.
It takes time, it takes work, it takes many different talents. So there's the people building the clients, there's the people working and making sure the code is secure, adding additional features, there's the people creating content. Like, I mean, it's a meme, but it's like, we need the Bitcoin price to go up, so we need more Bitcoin podcasts, right? And it's like that will drive the price up. And ultimately it is true, because Bitcoin podcasts, every single one is going to reach a different person, right? Because of the specific niches, the talking points, the characteristics of the people talking, everything. So all of that's going to drive adoption. And adoption is not the adoption is for people buying into this asset, buying into the protocol, and being able to use it as a store of value function, as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, whatever it develops into over time. And it takes all types of people to build the roads is essentially it, right? And so
100%.
don't count yourself out because you're not a content creator or you're not a coder. If you've posted your pictures to Instagram, why not do that on Nostr, right? Like, it takes all types, right? Yeah, and I think people count themselves out too soon. But yeah,
100% agree. Yep. I don't think either you or I at any point in our life. Well, I guess you're a little bit different than me because you had a media company, so you were kind of a creator before even Bitcoin and everything like that. But like, I never really saw myself as a YouTuber or a content creator. I still don't really. I'm just having conversations here with people about, the future that I want to see, and it happens to be on the internet. But I feel like you're absolutely right. I think that people really discount themselves in terms of how much knowledge they actually have, how valuable that knowledge is. And that's actually what I'm going to spend. Well, we are going to spend. I'm going to start it off, but 5 or 10 minutes today on the Maple Bitcoin Happy Hour talking about this exact subject, in the sense that you should be doing this. And I'm going to talk specifically about school communities and how people can benefit from their own community, make money off of that, use it for the Maple side of things. And it's super interesting to me. People really, I think they think that because there's so much information out there with AI and with everything we have now, that they can't really add value anymore. But that's couldn't be further from the truth. I think that actually having this amount of information that we have is a huge problem for people. It's an overflow of information. And if you can actually take that information that you've learned yourself from, and you can organize that in a way and structure it so that somebody who's brand new to Bitcoin can learn from that basically the same way that you did, that's a huge value add that I think a lot of people really sleep on.
Yeah. And the other thing there too, I mean, just with AI is like how much of a problem is the hallucination of AI, because it makes you question everything that it tells you. You have to double check it with another AI, with a Google search, with a Reddit forum. You have to double check. If it's really important, you have to double check it. And what that is that's a trust issue. That's a reputation issue.
Yep.
If ChatGPT has the most hallucinations, people are going to go to Gemini. If Gemini hallucinates, they're going to go to Claude. They're going to go to Perplexity. That is the reputation aspect that we talked about earlier. And that's what you can build as a human is your reputation, and therefore trust. And yeah, it all comes back. It all comes full circle. Everything that we've already talked about is all connected here. It's
100%.
it's everything that you need other than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin really plays a part of it. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about that subject as well. The fact that this school community is such a learning haven for the people already involved in it. You can see that, people coming with their questions, excited about answers, excited to learn. The lives we do that we're going to do in 3 minutes here, where people can actually hop on the camera, ask questions. Again, YouTube, there's some things we can't talk about on YouTube. We can talk
Yep.
about them on these private school community chats. And then, yeah, to talk about of what you can create as yourself, as far as the school community, as far as offering value, I think is going to be probably hugely impactful on the people that are already in the school community. So consider joining. I'll share the link as well on my chat, and there's a free 7-day trial, so you could join today and you could hop in the call and see what the live's like.
Yeah, and there's an option in there for people who want to pay for a monthly fee. I think it's $27. We're going to be upping that, I think, every week going forward because a couple of reasons. Number one, the fiat payments are becoming worth less and less with each week that goes by. But plus the amount of information that we have in there, the content we have in there is more and more valuable each week. Plus just the community itself, like, there, if you look at the map, I'm not going to show it on here because I don't want to dox people, but there's Bitcoiners from all around the world in here. And having a network of Bitcoiners, I think, is next to owning sats themselves. I think that the network is most important because you can learn from people. You can teach people, which will increase your knowledge and conviction. You can build and collaborate with people and share ideas who are all in the same frequency as you. And that is such a powerful thing. And if you're going to visit a country, and instead of just like relying on, AI or TripAdvisor, you can actually ask people who are living in that country for advice. Like that is invaluable, that kind of information. And like Forrest said, it's one thing to ask AI, but one thing that I've used Nostr for a lot is actually asking other human beings. So I'll cross-reference. I'll ask AI a question, and then I'll ask Nostr. You can ask questions and then use a hashtag called Ask Nostr and cross-reference them and see which one makes more sense. Because from my experience, anyways, I like hearing from humans, a human experience, right? And then you can zap them. If they said something to you that helped or, benefited you, you can return the favor to them through sats.
Yeah. And there's that saying of like your network is your net worth, or like you're the sum of the people you're around the most. The other idea here too is you make connections, shallow or not, you make connections and they can lead to other connections, which can lead to opportunities that you never would have had otherwise. There's huge benefits to joining a community, not just our school community, but like the Nostr community, the community on X, the community on YouTube, the community out in person at a Bitcoin meetup, or your other interests as well. Joining communities is incredibly beneficial for like mental health, for your mental health, for your wealth, for everything. Like it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and when we started this community, one of the things we had, like even on the main page there, it says grow your knowledge, your network, and your net worth. So it wasn't something where we said, hey, here's a bunch of information we want you to pay us for. It's like, we want to help you meet other Bitcoiners, which you can collaborate with, which you can help exit the fiat system quicker, and your net worth. We want to give you strategies that we've used, having multiple income streams. And I think that that's going to be a conversation today. So if you enjoyed what Forrest and I were talking about today, I highly suggest you hop over to the happy hour and listen to what we have to say about that, because it is something that we don't want it to be an expense. We want it to be an investment where you actually earn more than you pay to be on the community. So that was kind of the idea from day one.
Totally. Yeah. And we are a minute late, so we should hop over there.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Just a couple things before we go here. I see Sin Diesel zapped us 18 sats and 45 sats, 1845. And Ukemi zapped 21 sats. And then we did get our test post here from Paradigm Tech, 1 sat. So thank you for that.
Okay.
And Pauly D sent in 1,888 sats. Thank you, Pauly D.
Nice.
Oh, we got one more, 373. Okay. Forrest, sorry, buddy. We're a little bit late here. That's my fault. But yeah.
Good.
Maple Bitcoin. No, what is it? School.com/Maple Bitcoin. We shared the link in the chat if you want to join us.
Yep. And thanks everybody for tuning into the live stream today. And we do these every week. So we'll see you at the next one. We'll see you at the school. We'll see you guys around.
And we'll have Rajat next week.
Yep.
Thanks, Forrest. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Guys.